if you find yourself hitting ladders like a boss, stay sharp, but stay humble. And like, that's literally my season. I'm like, man, I was hitting ladders for so long and just jumping through life and everything was going great. And I chose a season of quiet and calm and reflection. And I also chose a season of like, depriving myself of some of the things that grant me easy access to flow state, like living on the beach next to you and running around in the sand playing volleyball. But man, the growth and the empathy and the strength that I'm receiving from it has been so reinvigorating that I'm like very excited to see what comes out of this season. And yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to ALLSMITH. Today's guest is one of my really close friends. He's known as the hug dealer. He's a man whose presence alone makes you feel stronger, makes you feel seen, and makes you feel a part of something greater. He's built on an empire of connection, bringing people together with some of the biggest names in fitness, adventure, and entrepreneurship. Today, I'm excited to introduce the 300-pound cheetah, the man himself, Matthew Bickel. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. It's so exciting. It's cool to be able to be on a podcast with one of your best friends and just chat and forget that the recording's even going on. So that's what I'm excited.
Totally. Like I don't honestly forget to press record sometimes, and then like my team's like, Bryce, the stuff before was so much better. I'm like, shit. Like sometimes I get anxious and nervous when you press the record button. Sometimes it changes the dynamic, but I don't think it will for us today. And before we jump into all the things and I start to talk shit to you about my Lakers whooping on the Nuggets the other day, the plants, man, I have to tell you, I'm admiring the plants behind you right now. And I think people should know about your love and your obsession with plants.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah. I am obsessed with the cannabis plant first and foremost.
Heyo.
I had never grown a plant in my life until I grew the cannabis plant. I had never had a house plant of any sort. And around 14, 15 years old, discovered that this plant made me feel better and it didn't make me feel weird. And it helped me get centered to my heart and it helped me concentrate in school and all these wild, crazy things. And it didn't all happen at 14, but over the evolution of the time with the plant, I developed a relationship with it that was really life-changing for me and has allowed me to, make all my dreams come true, really, to this point. And it's been my career since I was 24-ish. I moved to Colorado, became a medical cannabis grower, and then got some house plants and found out that they're way easier to grow than cannabis plants. And if you're a good cannabis grower, you're an amazing houseplant grower. And so I have 150 houseplants in my house. One of my orchids are hanging out over there. There's some stuff hanging from the ceiling, vines everywhere.
So pretty, man.
But yeah, it's really cool. The first question everyone asks is, do you water them? And I'm like, yeah, I water them. They're my plants. I think most people that have this many plants have someone come water them, but it's fun. It's like once a week I get to walk around and water them all. And I have a personal relationship with them all where I know like this one's going to drink tons and it's going to leak out on the floor. This one's not going to be thirsty at all. So just give it a little splash. And I don't feed them any plant food. I have a really awesome water filter that Sam Dancer told me about. It's called Pristine Hydro, and it's a whole house water filter that remineralizes.
Oh, that's cool.
Water. It's got crystals. The water goes through crystals to energetically charge it.
Oh, fancy.
Plants love it. So yeah, that's my plant story.
That's awesome, man. You were around in San Diego around the time when I lost my mom. I lost my mom in July 2024. And I ended up working with a healer right after that. And he's taught me so much. Like we've curated with the stories I tell myself, the bullshit of whatever limited beliefs, and just navigating some of the peaks and valleys of my experiences so far. And he's helped me so much. And early on, Matt, I thought of you because he gave me a homework assignment. And he goes, go buy some flowers. And his name's Justin. I'm like, well, dude, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, why do I need to go buy flowers? They're a waste of money. They're just going to die. Like, I just want to have fake flowers or fake plants in my house. So, like, it can create an ambiance. And he's like, Bryce, I don't care about your thoughts or your limited beliefs. Go buy the fucking flowers. And so I end up going to Trader Joe's. Bickel, I buy all my groceries. And I'm like kind of side eyeing the flowers. And I'm like, fuck it, I'm not buying these things. I like pay for my groceries. I take them out to the car, put my grocery cart away. And I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, I should have bought the flowers. I literally stop what I'm doing. I go inside and I don't just buy one set of flowers. I buy like a couple because I'm like, you know what? If I'm going to do this, I'm going to try to like create the arrangement. And I get home and psychologically I'm like, what did I give into the external and let it into the internal? Like, fuck this. I just took them and I like threw them into a vase. And what do you think happened? I didn't take care of them. I didn't water them consistently. I didn't put them in a place where they were getting healthy sun. So every day, every morning when I walked out of my room, I'd see them. They were just slowly dying. And what I realized, and this is what I really wanted to kind of explore, these types of concepts that are deep, heavy, deep and real, meaningful, is that, oh, wow, this is what I was doing to myself. I was giving so much love to everybody else and my clients and business and all the things, but I wasn't taking care of me. I was taking care of me physically, but not like in here. And so like the flowers died, I threw them away and I learned the hard lesson. And so the next time I end up going to the farmer's market and I buy like different types of flowers and I'm like trimming the stems. I'm trying to put like some sugar water. I'm like Googling and ChatGPTing all the things to like make flowers happy and loving. Cause I was like, you know what? This is a reflection of like me. I'm going to look at these things. I'm going to give them love. I'm going to put them in front of the sun. I'm going to make these the best freaking flowers. And I ended up doing so. And it's like crazy how that elevated my personal vibration, my connection, and how it diffused into everything else in my world. And I was like, dang, Bickel was sort of trying to teach me this back in the day, like years ago. And I didn't have the space to receive it. And I don't know, it took me a little while to fucking figure it out, but here we are. And I really wanted to tell you that story.
Well, thanks. That's a great story, dude. I'll be honest, it turned on a lot of lights in my head of like, yeah, I guess I really do like love having the plants to take care of and knowing that they, like I can kind of just meditate and water and hang out with them. And then also the energy that it creates in my house. There's just 150 living beings inside of my home, and me and Jazzy. So I got a full house when it's just me alone by myself. And that's a really cool thing because it can be hard living alone,
Totally, man. And that's something that it also brought up, which is, some people might call it woo-woo and whatnot, but every morning I wake up, the dogs go left, I go right, I jump in the cold plunge for a second. It's like my hard thing to get my win for the day. I dry off, I come inside, I have some hydration, and then I grab my coffee and I go sit out in the sun for about 10, 15 minutes because as you know, if you can't tone it, you got to tan it. And you're the founder of that phrase. You're the founder of toning and tanning. So I just want to make sure everybody knows that.
ALLSMITH.
And I don't know, man, there was a season where I was going out there and I was just like doing it to check the box because it was like my routine. And then all of a sudden I got to this like open space cognitive layer. I was like, whoa, I want to listen to the birds a little more. I want to feel my feet a little grounded. I'd like go over to like trees or plants. I just kind of feel them for a second. Like some people might call them woo-woo, but like I felt an energy from plants and from different things. And I started thinking, and I'm curious your thoughts on this. Like we have our senses that we talk about. Maybe you can add a sixth one being like intuition and like observing body language. But there's all kinds of energy swimming around us that we can't really see or feel. And I know you being an empath, like you pick up on energy. You're a VC. You're a vibe creator. What are your thoughts on some of that? And just kind of like, yeah, we love fitness, we love activity, but you're also practicing now slowing down the art of stillness and observing like, what am I feeling and why are things dope sometimes and other times they're flat?
Yeah, I mean, gosh, it's not woo-woo at all, first and foremost. Like woo-woo is the new popular culture. Like people are realizing that the ways of, toxic masculinity or stubborn, whatever are kind of dying. And like it's energy is everywhere. It's everything. It's around us. It's on us. It's, I collect crystals and I truly believe that these crystals are millions of years old and they contain the energy of all of time. Energy is an exchange. Energy is ever present. And those are powerful, powerful tools that I live my life with every single day because like without energy, it's hard to live with big energy, like if you have it all, life is still going to throw difficulties at you and hard times and stress and all those things. But like I couldn't even imagine life without recognition and harnessing of energy. And if anyone that's listening is not harnessing energy, then please, study that. That's something that everybody should make a huge priority, is the observation and receiving and giving of energy.
Mm-hmm. I really love the way you said that, because I was definitely probably, a couple of years ago, the epitome of like, if it's not measurable or I can't see it, it's not factual. Like that's bullshit. And like, obviously life had to punch me in the gut a few times for me to like soften and learn some of those things. And you've been consistent with those things. And I love noticing, observing, giving and receiving in alignment with you. And I don't know, man, like you do some really cool things with how you allow other people to be seen. And even if it's not in the same sphere of your goals, you definitely do a good job like checking in with people. And then the thing that really perks my eyebrows, you not only check in with people and you practice the art of social fitness, but then you do this amazing job of like drawing the boundary of like, okay, now I'm going into the pain cave. Now I'm going to go get after it. But when I'm done, I'll be back. And we can powwow, we can play ping pong, we can energetically kind of explore, dream, and discover together. But right now I'm going to go do the thing. And there was a season where I struggled with that, where it's like, I always feel like I have to like give and give and give. I don't really get my time. And then I developed this like, I don't know, it was tough for me to draw boundaries. And I felt like guilty for drawing the boundaries. And I watched how you and Sam kind of did that when you were here in San Diego. I don't know, man, like the way you live your life is it's a telltale. And I don't even know that you like know how to describe it with words, but I view it as very, very heroic. And it's great leadership because you just exemplify of like, this is an awesome example as to how to be a good man. And so I don't know, I wanted to share that on air, and hopefully you receive that, because it is something that now that I've matured a little bit and reflected, I'm like, that was really dope that I got to learn from some of the best to ever do it.
Thank you, man. That means a lot. It really does. I think, if I were trying to describe it, it's the attempt to reach flow state on a daily basis. And I've studied flow state for about 3 years now. And it's so funny because even saying this out loud, I haven't thought about flow state. I've been out of my own flow state for the last few months. And when you're in it, it's very easy to identify and to recreate. When you're out of it, it feels like it's a lost magic. And for me, the study of flow state has brought me to the realization that if I can create as many layers of flow state inducing things, activities, be it for me, music, cannabis, community, fitness, service, and if I am constantly prioritizing those things, I find flow state very easily. When I'm not in flow state is when I'm worrying about myself, when I'm, alone or lonely and not reaching out to community. When I'm like, I've realized I haven't been listening to music much lately. Someone asked me about music yesterday, and I was like, gosh, I haven't been listening to much music lately. Like, just music alone can set my entire mood for me. And, when you can kind of crack the code on that, or at least find your access and then multiply the factors, meaning like maybe go do some fitness with your friends with some good music, helping others while you're there. And all of a sudden you're just dropping in so fast. But it's definitely something that I don't always recognize in the moment until I step back and I'm like, wow, that's really cool. And so I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah, you do a great job of that, man. And also just to echo on music, I think Skull Candy did some studies and things on it. Not that I put all my value into studies, but there's something to be said about like how action can be stimulated based on vibration, based on mood. Like, if I'm listening to something angry, it might be helpful in saying some curse words and lifting heavy. If I'm listening to some reggae and whatnot, it might be fun to skateboard down the beach. I definitely think that music is such a beautiful art that co-pilots our human experience for sure. And every time I hear that Vince Staples song, man, I think of you. Like it's really cool because that was just like a pivotal time in life where things were changing. And I don't know, man, like your smile, your vibration, getting people out to volleyball. And also the other thing that's so dope to me about you, Matt, sometimes as a leader, whether that's a business leader, whether that's a fitness leader, like you feel like you have to have the answers. You feel like you have to like be the guy. And you do a great job of not doing that. Like some days you're like crushing it in volleyball. Some days you're like, you know what, my knee's a little sore from this week. Like I'm going to back off and I'm going to play with the peanut gallery and visit and connect with people. Like you're so good at like role reversing based on your specific needs and kind of listening to your heart center of like what you need. And some days that's a long run on the beach with Jazzy. Some days that's a tough CrossFit workout with a bajillion reps and, you know, high time domain. Some days that's, yeah, I'm going to back off and I'm going to tell some jokes and maybe I'll do some bench press over here. How have you kind of played with that dosage as to listening to what you need and like managing like maybe the pseudo guilty conscience around like, oh, am I a little bitch today because I'm not like doing the thing?
Yeah. I'll be honest. I had a big aha moment. I, for so long, pushed so hard and pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And basically through failure, had to start looking at other ways around it. My back got hurt. I couldn't really, you know, like my shoulders were all messed up. All of a sudden, like doing all these things that checking the box of being a badass, I was like, man, I need to find another way. And I'd always find another way. And then I finally had a moment where I was like, dude, you're enough. Everyone knows you're a hard ass. Like, you don't need to prove it anymore. I was out to prove to everyone, to the world, that I could go hard, that I can crush it. And then I was like, wait a minute. Everyone knows. Like, if I ask anyone around me, do I work hard? Am I afraid to suffer? You know, will I give everything I've got? Every single person who spends any time with me and knows me will say 100%. Sam always used to tell me if I was 190 pounds, I would have won the games 5 times. Like,
I agree. I totally agree.
I've got that go in me, and I that's not the problem. But the problem is finding ways to stay comfortable, to be comfortable, and to slow down. And when I realized that, like, I've proved it. Like, that doesn't mean that I'm going to like live in my glory days of like, I got 10 touchdowns in high school. Like, that's not it at all. I'm going to still continue to set and achieve goals. But I know that like the pressure is not there on me anymore. And it's funny you brought that up because today's a Wednesday. We have a rest day tomorrow. There's no reason to not have to go crush yourself at the gym today. And I went in this morning and I was just like, it's not here today. And I rode and biked for like 45 minutes and moved. My friend was folding towels that owns the gym, and I moved the rower over by the towel folding and just rode and talked to him and got my heart rate up, got some sweat in, and got out of there and got home and got to work. And it felt really good, but it's taken mostly a ton of failure and then an aha moment where I was like, okay, I'm enough.
Totally. I love you saying that. It took me a long time to learn that. I feel like it was very difficult after basketball. Fortunately, CrossFit allowed me to kind of like tinker with that for a while. And then it was kind of like validating yourself of like, oh, the famous line from retired athletes, I still got it, still got it.
Yeah. And
then I kind of got to the point where I was like, oh, wow. Like, you don't actually have to fill in the gap. Like, you just don't want to do that anymore. Yeah. It's not that I can't do a thrust or a clean. It's just like, it doesn't feel good anymore.
Totally.
And it's really freeing when you realize that, like, I mean, just the other day, dude, I was like standing up playing with the dogs and I like pulled my leg up and I put my sock on, like standing up, and I was like, whoa, I don't have like low back pain, like putting my sock on. Like, I could never do that when I was squatting 400 pounds plus every week. It was really enlightening and freeing to realize that, like, I have so much respect for my friends, family, everybody in between that is really pushing the envelope on some of those things. And like, I did that for over a decade. And now I've kind of gotten to the point where it's like, I might touch on that or I might flex that muscle on occasion. But it's also really cool to not feel like fitness validates me and my performance or the weight or the time on a workout. It's kind of like, well, I want to use this time to like get better. But more importantly, I want to leave the gym feeling good. Mm-hmm. What was your experience kind of graduating to that mindset? Because like you and I had some intimate chats about that when you were here. I think I had days where I believed it and then other days where I fought it. And it was kind of just like a rough moment of trying to figure that out. And like, it doesn't mean it's never going to creep back in. But like you've exemplified that where it's like, you know, you go and you train with the Mike Idalas and the Hinmans that have different goals. And you would do a great job customizing. And we talked loosely before you left San Diego around like program design. Like, what does that look like? Especially when you're a big guy, you're heavy. And it should look like, you squat, you hinge, you push, you pull, you carry, and then you incorporate monostructural things like running, rowing, biking, jump rope, burpees, sleds. And then obviously trying to get creative with how you do that and how you mix in volume and low impact things. For you, what was the graduation? Because in the beginning it was like, dude, I set these world records in rowing and like, I'm badass. I've lost all this weight. I've broken rowing machines. I'm getting like patted on the shoulder for these performance metrics. But then you also get to the point where you're like, all right, like what's next? Like, where do I find fucking peace?
The Trident family taught me something really important this last year, that we are all a bundle of stories, both good, bad, and everything in between. All of their cold brews remind their customers that they are part of something bigger than themselves. I start my day with the Sweet Cream Cold Brew as I am prepping my mind and body for fitness, service, coaching, and podcasting. With various locations in San Diego, they offer over 14 nitro cold brews and a variety of specialty drinks. You can find the perfect brew and pair it with one of their treats from the Keto Bakery. You can check them out over at tridentcoffee.com and use code ALLSMITH to take your coffee experience to the next level.
Yeah. So for me, it was a continued back injury that would happen once every 6 months, and then it started to become every 4 months, and then it started to happen every 2 months. And this is over a 10-year period of time where the whole time I was pushing my limits physically, trying to max out squats, trying to max out cleans, all those things. And then got super into strongman and got into really, really heavy sandbags. And I have this it's in my alley. No one's ever stolen it. It's out in front of my garage. There's a 350-pound sandbag that myself, Sam Dancer, and Tola, I always butcher his last name, Mercurio Tola, the strongest guy in CrossFit.
Maraquinho, I think is how you say
it. I hate to butcher.
It's hard to say.
Sorry, Tola. But the three of us were the only three people that ever got it up into a bear hug off the ground. Mm-hmm. And I had gotten to where the back injury was happening all the time, and it wouldn't even happen lifting. Like usually if I'm warmed up and I'm lifting, feel great, but then go sit down, hang out for a while, go to get up from the gym or go on the couch in the middle of the night and pop, my back goes, and it's my L4, L5. I got an MRI, found out it was L4, L5, found out that many of the vertebrae in my back were not good, but these two need surgery, and it was either get surgery or make a change. And I hate surgery. I've never had a surgery. That's how much I hate it. And a good friend told me once that you know what you have going into surgery. You don't know what you have coming out, especially back.
That's surgeries. A great line.
Yeah. And back surgeries are just like slippery. You hear horror stories, anything to do with the spine. And so I had to redefine what fitness was to me, which I took the L1, and on the L1, they have a sickness, wellness, fitness. It's kind of like the gas tank is either empty, half, or full. And I'm directly challenged ever since the day of this injury and the admission of the injury and the swallowing of the ego and the shifting of my mindset. I was like, no, you're wrong, CrossFit. It's sickness, fitness, wellness. And you're not well as a result of being fit. And we know that. Most people think if you're fit, you're great. But we all know the world that we live in, that the fitter you are, sometimes the more broken your body is. And the strongest I've ever been in my life, when I had a full six-pack and was shredded and cleaning 400 pounds and squatting 600 pounds, I felt like I got run over by a truck every day. And there was no wellness to that whatsoever. And so my goal in fitness is to use it as a tool towards wellness, which is also sleep, recovery, things that don't stress, like keeping stress low. And that has been my mind shift. And so I take that same mindset into wanting to clean 400 pounds and wanting to be the fittest guy. Now I want to be the wellest guy. I want to be the least sore and the most energized and the most rested. And that creates the best version of me. And I can just move that addiction to wellness. And it's like a great place to be, because now we're talking about all the sauna stuff we do, all the outdoor nature stuff we do, all the, I'm a 90% cardio athlete probably. And I lift just for maintenance, because you do have to maintain bone and muscle density as you get older. But besides that, like, I'm not lifting for PRs. I keep the same weight on all the time, and I feel great. And so a quote that I was taught early on is, people don't realize how good feeling good really feels. And
Mm.
I think that's like, if you're very unhealthy, you feel that, but also if you're beat to hell because you train too hard all the time, you don't realize it either. I saw Noah Olson's a buddy of mine, a CrossFitter, and he retired this year. And he didn't retire from fitness, but he retired from competitive CrossFit. And he's posted the other day that he's only doing class workouts at Peak 365, which is their programming is insane. So he's still getting plenty of fitness, but he's working out an hour a day, and he said it's like some of the best he's ever felt. And in my mind, I laughed. I was like, he'd probably be the most dangerous at the games he's ever been if he could mentally allow himself to accept the fact that his body's so healed and he feels so good that he can go out and kick some butt. But he can kick some butt either way. But that was my thought.
No, totally. That's so well said, and it depicts what an artist you are to really understand how to shift the fitness and the wellness. For people that maybe are watching on YouTube, like CrossFit paints this picture of a continuum similar to a gas tank of like sickness, wellness in the center, and then fitness on this side, as if we're all in pursuit of fitness. But before I unpack exactly what Bickel was talking about, like the thing that comes to mind that you and I have chatted on a few times is, do you have fitness or does fitness have you? Because the other element of this, which you're phenomenal at, you spend time with Eric Hinman, Mike Idala, Ty Morris, like when those guys are competing at events, you even go out and you co-pilot them, you support them on some of these, Ironmans, the Leadvilles, all these different things. And you're there to love, support, document, help them with content, collaborate with them with brands. Like the thing that's missing for so many of us is, in order to have that level of fitness, you have to have a little bit of selfishness and you have to tune out the noise, because your body needs to recover. You have to give so much time and energy to the effort that's required for that maximal level of fitness. Food and eating becomes a full-time job, that it ultimately leads to this depreciation of relationships. You don't really, like, CrossFit defines fitness as increased work capacity across broad time and modal domains. I don't know that it's increased work capacity. I think it's increased fitness capacity, because work, obviously it has its own definition, but it's like, you're now losing relationships, you're losing finances, you're losing your relationship with adventure. You're probably not traveling unless it's for a competition. You're not indulging in some of the really cool culinary aspects of food and travel, adventure, all these different flavors. Probably not going to art things. You're not really interested in other people's stuff. You become interesting, but you're not interested. And it's because you're solely focused on that thing. And I don't view it as a bad thing. I think it's good to go through that chapter. And I think it's great to do, because you learn so much in that process. And I really do think we're here on this earth to live, to learn, and honestly just to experience. But part of experience is relationships. And I think what's cool about when you get to that level of fitness and you're like, whoa, this isn't serving me anymore. Maybe it did for a season. Now I'm going to graduate to switching fitness that was previously over here and wellness here, switching it where now wellness is the goal. It's like, okay, when I leave the gym, what is my energy? What is my enthusiasm? What's my thought clarity? What are my relationships? What's my travel? What's my adventure? Well, how are my finances? Like, there's an onslaught of questions based on people's definition of success. But I love the way you painted that. And I was trying to mirror and echo it a little bit. Did I kind of hit the nail on the head a little bit?
Yeah, you crushed it. Absolutely. That's the best part about us being such good friends. I feel like it's very understood the way we're communicating, and it's fun to talk.
Yeah, man. I call that, you just get it. Sometimes it's unspoken, and you can just like see people living and operating at a vibration. You're like, I see you. And you do a great job of that. You allow people to be seen, heard, and understood. Where does that stem from, man? Is that something that comes from parents, childhood, traumas? Like, how do you do such a great job of, like, going back to how I introed you as the hug dealer? Like, you don't give a bullshit side hug. It's not like a check the box of like, what's up? Okay, let me move on. It's like, you give people a real hug. You hold them for a second, shoulders back and down, lats turn on, like pushing into that person, making sure there's like an energetic exchange of like true, like, love. And you and Sam were the first people to share with me that, like, I was uncomfortable saying, hey, I love you, man. In the beginning, that was like 5-6 years ago. Now I've realized, like, man, there's so many different levels to the game of love. And the way you share love is so special and so precious. And then obviously that translates to helping people be seen, heard, and understood. Where does that come from, Bickel?
Man, I got to give a lot of credit to my mom and sister. I was raised in a divorced family, spent most of my time around my mom and sister, and they both instilled a lot of feminine energy into me. And I was probably a holdback for some point in my life where I was maybe too sensitive as a young boy. But it's blended me really well as a man who has quite a bit of strong feminine energy. Also, growing up overweight and a little bit poorer in my world, I didn't have a lot to offer the world. And kids are mean and tough, and they don't show you a lot of love. And so I found at a very, very young age that interesting myself into other people's needs, creating a true like yearning to help others and to be concerned with their needs was a way to receive love. And it's not a healthy thing to do if you don't love yourself, but if you do love yourself, it's a very healthy thing to do. And so through my evolution of growing up and becoming a man, I've always kind of focused on like loving others first, but also learning how to like create a boundary or even just like not abandon myself in the pursuit of love of others. And I've failed at this a million times, and this is an ongoing process. But where I sit today is I love the guy sitting here so much, but I truly, truly still find so much joy in the concern of others. Like moving to San Diego every year was great to get to the beach and get to be around all my friends, but it always needed to be a why. And getting to coach Sam and coach Chandler and things like that were like, oh my gosh, they were, to be able to pour into someone else's why fills my cup so much. And not having that, like this season has been tough because I'm like, I need someone's cup to fill up. Like can't just fill mine up. I'm pretty good at that, but I'm really good at filling the cups of others around me, at least attempting to, and trying to give that to people. And so it's no different than getting good at running, getting good at writing programs on computers. I got really good at loving other people and finding ways to show up for them, to ask them how I can show up for them, to be present, and to really just love hard on people. And it feels so good. I collect quotes, and I've already used a couple, but this one is my own quote, is if you seek joy, seek helping others. If you seek depression, seek helping yourself. Like if you worry enough about others, you will eventually find joy. If you worry enough about yourself, you're going to eventually be depressed. And I think that's an easy way to always kind of check in on life. Is like, if I'm sitting around worrying about me, that's a waste of time. I need to get out and worry about others. There's people with bigger problems than me always.
That's really special, man. Inky Johnson. I don't know if you've ever listened to him. He's a famous motivational speaker, and he speaks on God and has some religious elements to it. And man, that guy just gets me fired up. For those of you that haven't listened, Inky Johnson, I like listening to him on Spotify, but he's got some cool motivational speeches on YouTube as well. But he has this line where he goes, you always make sure other people are okay, you'll always be okay. And I just think that's really cool around like the concept that I alluded to before. Like if you want to be interesting, be interested. If you're craving love, give love.
Yeah.
And I think if you can give, you'll also learn how to receive. But if you just look to take or receive early on and there's not giving, that's also very apparent. And it's a learning lesson, and people have to experience what that feels like in order to learn that lesson too. And yeah, man, it's really cool to see you continue to practice this consistently, so honestly over the course of time. And the other thing I wanted to touch on with you, Matt, is you've touched often on this relationship between masculine and feminine. Something I'm really interested in, because the masculine it's this rigid, we're the tree trunk, but it's like without feminine energy, there are no branches, there are no trees, there's no flow. You talked a little bit about flow state, and women are so flowy, man. Like sometimes women can get too feminine, they need some rigidity. And then sometimes there's too much rigidity and there's masculine. It's like the goal is kind of ebbing and flowing between these two. But when you self-reflect and you watch the Steph Currys, you watch the LeBrons, the Lukas, the Jokic's, they're not out there like with paralysis of analysis of like, okay, I catch the ball and I have to do this and I have to do this. It's like they're reading and there's a rhythm and they're kind of playing and they're feeling how things go and they're feeling how they can like read and adjust and do a counter to the counter to the counter. What are your thoughts and advice for men that are out there that are maybe like, oh, I don't need that? Like oftentimes when I bring this topic up to like our circle of friends, that it's very like all physical, like the feminine energy is not going to help me lift more weight. It's not going to help me make more money. Like sometimes you got to figure it out. It's like, yeah, sometimes. But there's also this other side where like maybe that stronghold grip doesn't allow you to hold as much sand, and you let go of that grip a little bit and you realize it creates space to hold on to a little bit more. Mm-hmm. How do you kind of adjust your tone and your ability to kind of create buy-in around this topic?
Man, that's a great question. It's a tough one to, if you're talking to someone who's not willing to receive it, it's going to be a tough conversation. I've still had them. I'll have a relentless pursuit of positivity where I will annoy you into maybe cracking and listening, or maybe you just blow me off and say no way. But maybe like a day or two later, you're like, oh wow, he might have been on something there. But it's, gosh, I think lead by example. I think the same as I learned with my Christian faith is attraction, not promotion. I don't want to walk in and say, I got feminine energy and I'm a good Christian and I love you with all my heart. I want you to be like, what is this guy going? What's his magic? Like, why is he so happy? Why is everyone flocking to this person's energy? What's so attractive about it? And that was, meeting Sam Dancer, my very best friend in the whole world. He had an air about him that was so attractive that I couldn't, and I have a good bit of it myself, but I didn't have what he had at the time. And I kept asking him, and he kept telling me it was Christ. And that's had a radical, exploration into that, and found out that I am definitely a Christian and definitely proud to be one. But again, it's attraction, not promotion. You can't talk someone into anything, but you can sure set a vibe that's like, man, I want more of that, and I'm willing to find out what it is. And this person obviously has something that I don't, and I'm not saying I have something that everyone doesn't. I just have access to this spirit and this love. And if someone, I want to show you, not tell you. I'm from Missouri. It's the show me state. And I love saying, in business, I'm always like, well, unfortunately, I'm from Missouri. So telling me is not going to help me at all. You're going to have to show me. And my offensive line coach in college used to say, your video better match your audio, Bickel. He'd ask why you didn't do something. I'd say, I did block the linebacker. He said, well, your video better match your audio. And so creating that attraction, and then making sure that my video always matches my audio, that I am who I'm preaching to be, and that I am checking myself to remember this is who I am. It's hard to have integrity in your lowest moments, and for me, that comes from like, my lowest moments are like driving in a car when someone's rude to me on the road, and at the airport. I feel like when people have anonymity, when people think that they can escape you quickly and never see you again, they'll treat you differently. And so I find myself, and I'm driving, I will talk out loud to myself. I don't road rage. I'm way past that. My life is way too good for that. But I find myself getting frustrated or getting annoyed. And it's like, that's not who you say you are. This is not the ethos of what you're supposed to be. And it's my joy to give away, or my joy to keep. And so, those are the tips that I would try and with somebody.
That's amazing, man. The way you articulated that was beautiful. And I'd also say, like, one of the most attractive things that you can possess as a human is just simply being unbothered. And the reason why I say it like that is because between stimulus and response, there's a space, and within that space is your power to choose. And I think, like, within that choice, the famous 5x5 rule that you pull from Special Forces and Navy SEALs, like, if it's not going to matter in 5 years, don't spend more than 5 minutes being upset about it. Like, I'm all for, like, hey, take a moment, like, scream into the pillow, like, do what you got to do to, like, get it out and have your second. But then it's like, all right, cool. Like, I don't have to hold on to that thought. I don't have to get into that car and go for a ride with that emotion. I'm actually just going to practice this beautiful art of, like, letting go. And it's that Buddhist wisdom of, like, holding on to that hot piece of coal. Like, you're the only one that gets burned. Let's just not burn ourselves. Let's just let it go. Let's let it burn. Let it burn. Let it go. And, Yeah, man, I really appreciated the way you said that, because we're all human. We all have our moments, but it is really cool to see how you authentically live it, and you do attract. The attraction is really cool. And I would actually push back a little bit around, you attract because you do have access to things that other people don't have, because you make the cognizant, consistent choice to have a relationship with God, with fitness, with others, with these other things. Like, other people have access to that. They just choose not to foster that relationship as in depth. And I think that they will over the course of time, when they're ready, when the time is right, and when they have their calling, or they cross paths with that flavor that lights their heart on fire. And they're like, oh, wow, this actually feels good. Like, I know sometimes certain words like faith, or even the word God, or religion in general, can be triggering for people. And I totally honor and hold space and respect that. But I also think there's something really cool as far as the standard that's set from religion and spirituality, and just thinking of the world with a creator, a higher power. Because I'll speak for myself. I don't want to speak for you and others, but like, I gave a ton of pushback to all that. And I just remember sitting there one day and I was like, whoa, when I observe nature, there's too many things that are like coincidences and miracles. And I mean, the chess pieces that need to move for some of the relationships that I have, like, it just doesn't totally make sense. Like, people had to fly here, or they had to be at this place at this time for you to meet this person. And I had to learn this lesson this way at this time. And why did that relationship fail? Why did that thing happen? Oh, it's because conversations were had, or experiences, or, things took place that I couldn't see, that some higher power needed to move them so I could learn the lesson. And like, I don't know, man, it never makes sense when you're looking forward. You're like, why? How do I understand? And then you look back and you're like, oh, it's a mystery looking forward, but it's always science looking back. Like, it sequentially makes sense. And nature's that way. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe there was a big bang, but like, it doesn't really make sense to me. So now I've just like surrendered to the fact that like, there's something out there that's doing cool shit, and I'm a fanboy.
Yeah. My preacher says he believes in the Big Bang, but who did the Big Bang? You know what I mean? Like, yeah. It's like you can believe in both. And yeah, I will just jump on this real fast. Like, I was definitely skeptical of church and religion, grew up Catholic, and it just, as I became a more spiritual being as an adult, didn't really understand it, and also maybe didn't want the accountability that religion requires. Was, like I touched on a minute ago, was directly attracted to the energy of Aaron Hoff, Sam Dancer. We were at the Ultimate Hawaiian Trail Run in Kauai, which is a nonprofit fundraiser for a program that gives free fitness to all the kids of the island. And Aaron, who puts it on, is the founder, and he's been sober for 25 years, and he's a Christian. And he showed me a Christianity that like wasn't perfect families sitting on the pews at church, singing the songs and saying the prayers. It was someone who was living like Christ, and who was out in the community helping and serving. And his joy and my joy, it just hit and created something so cool. And I was like, man, this is even more joy than I feel. And obviously it was at an event that was centered around service and love and, helping these kids of this island. And so God was on more display there than I've ever seen in my life. And that attraction, again, not promotion, is what led me right into it. And it made me a firm believer, because the love I feel there is so profound that it can't not be something very, very much more real than just spirit. It's like actually God to me.
Totally, man. I love the way you said that, because like you, I pushed back a lot. I've shared it many times on this podcast. Like, my father was raised by a priest. There was some hypocrisy that my father observed. So then when he raised me, my brother, my sister, he basically handed us a Bible and was like, hey, like, I am all for, if you guys want a religious pursuit, you can go with your friends, you can go with other family members, you can go learn, you can explore, dream, discover, ask me any questions that you want. I want you guys to do the right thing when nobody's watching, put your grocery cart away, treat your neighbor with kindness, and, continually, like you said, live like Christ, and don't do anything, or don't leave crumbs. Don't do anything you have to look over your shoulder about. him and my mom raised us with religious ideation, but they didn't call it that. They just called it like being a good person and, having some common sense, which, can be received or pushed away by all kinds of people because it's not specific enough. It's not rigid enough to like tangibly hold on and put it into your pocket. So I just have always had a religious curiosity, to be honest. And as I've gotten older and gone through some of life's things, I remember being with you in Kauai and what I felt serving kids, what I felt, just simply cleaning up, picking up cones, doing whatever was necessary was just cool. And then I came across this pastor a few months ago, and I've really not, in the past, I was like, oh, I don't take the time to go to church. Sometimes I read stuff and I sort of loosely have a relationship with God, but not really. Now it's like, it's a part of my week. And I take time to like, not just do my 5-minute journal in the morning, but like really look at a scripture and be like, what does this mean to me? Maybe I'm misunderstanding this. Like, let's unpack this a little bit. But there's this gentleman, and I'd love to send you a copy. He wrote a book called Radical Like Jesus. And I was like, whoa, that's kind of cool. Like, I'm not always going to make the money. I'm not always going to make the right choice. I'm not always going to do the right thing or, have everything in alignment, but I can try my best to live like Jesus. That's pretty freaking cool. And if I do that, and I love and motivate and inspire other people to do that, even if they took away all the religious connotation, it's just like, just do the next right thing, which is what our mutual friend Matt O'Keefe shared with me once. I was like, whoa, that paints a pretty beautiful picture for the world.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send you a copy of that book, Radical Like Jesus. I forgot the author, but he gave an amazing speech, and I remember listening to it, and I was like, ooh, this hits the nail on the head.
Awesome. I'll check it out.
Dude, we danced quite a bit, but Luka Doncic, the biggest trade in NBA history, coming from the Mavs, the Dallas Mavericks, over to my Los Angeles Lakers, and then them whooping on Jokic and the Nuggets here. Do you think the Nuggets are in trouble, or what are you doing? What are you thinking over there?
I'm not too worried about it. The
yes,
West.
You are. I saw that little neck itch. You're worried.
No. I mean, here's the thing. I think we had a better team last year than we did this year, and we didn't turn out to be that. The West is just so good, and I love seeing good teams be great, and I love the best part about the playoffs in basketball is it's 7 games, so you have no excuses. If you lose, you lost, and you can't be an angry fan. It's funny. I will say this: I want the Nuggets to win, absolutely, but my emotional attachment to it is a 0 out of 10. If I could pick the Nuggets or someone else, Nuggets. If I can talk trash, Nuggets, and I will talk trash. But as far as having a bad day if we get knocked out of the playoffs, I want to see ballers ball out, and I want to see Luka score 50 any night for any team, even if it's against the Nuggets. I just want the Nuggets to score one more point if I have my choice. But if they go out and take it from us, all power to them. And I'm stoked for you. I'm stoked for LA. I think LeBron could use some help. And I'm kind of liking the Lakers, dude. Dalton Connect is such a baller. And
yeah, he's a stud.
So cool.
I love Austin Reeves, too.
Austin Reeves, yeah. They're a cool team. And we have Westbrook this year, which Russell's a badass, but he's an older guy. And Jamal Murray is still my favorite player in the NBA. He's
so good, man.
Oh my gosh.
His ability to play pick and roll basketball and knock down big shots and just make the right play in the midst of extreme heat and adversity.
Yeah.
He exemplifies the concept of forged, not found. That dude's a stud.
Yeah, he's a stud.
Speaking of studs, man, Jimmy Butler. Going from Miami, had some issues there, got suspended indefinitely for some character issues that maybe took place behind the scenes that we couldn't see. But, man, they're 7-1 since he joined the Warriors. You see Steph and Draymond's fire back again. I don't know, man. Ratings were down in the NBA. Maybe the All-Star game wasn't everything that it could have been. But, I'm sparked up and fired up to kind of watch the remainder of the NBA season.
Yeah, me too. There's very little on TV that I get excited to watch. And Nuggets games and Baylor basketball games. I went to Baylor. And I love seeing Baylor play, and I love seeing the Nuggets play. Baylor came to Colorado last Saturday and played here and lost.
Oh,
and
cool.
I didn't get to go to the game because Mike Adala was breaking the world record, Guinness Book World Record for the Turkish get-up. And I was like, man, talk about having to choose between two really awesome things, which I love. I had a friend tell me once that life is full of difficult choices, and sometimes they're both great. And
Yeah.
you're living a good life when you have to choose between something amazing and something amazing. But going to see Mike was definitely the right call there.
Free is the way to be. Life beats us up a bit and causes some bumps and bruises, but that doesn't mean we have to stay on the sidelines. This is why we've partnered with Kinyan Labs. Get back to doing what you love with this incredible portable device designed to get you back in the game. Kinyan is on a mission to move people from pain to possible with their top-rated red light therapy and laser solution, which tackles inflammation along with muscle and joint pain quickly and effectively. What I love is that it's portable and rechargeable, making it easy to actually incorporate into my everyday life consistently. It's small and lightweight, so you can throw it in your gym bag or work bag, or even an overnighter. Kinyan's lasers and LED combo make this cutting-edge device extremely versatile for use with general aches and pains, as well as chronic back pain, arthritis, post-surgery recovery, endometriosis, and more. This has been an amazing tool keeping my elbows and knees pain-free for pressing, pulling, and squatting in the gym. Great tools like the Move Plus give me the freedom and flexibility to continue living life on my terms without limitations. There are a lot of reasons why over 15,000 people are using this device and rating it 4.7 stars and above. Head on over to kinyan.io and use code ALLSMITH at checkout to begin your pain-free journey.
Yeah, for sure. It also just echoes the overarching concept that everything costs something. It's not always monetary. You're one guy. You got to put your time, energy, and attention into something. And sometimes people do a great job of diversifying that, and sometimes people don't. But jumping into Mike Idala, man, like, talk about masculine, feminine energy. Like, that dude is strong as hell. I've seen him overhead squat 315 pounds. For people that don't understand, it's pulling the bar from the ground to your front rack position, then doing what's called a push jerk up and overhead, jumping your hand kind of to the center of the barbell for weight distribution, and then integrating a single arm overhead squat with over 300 pounds, 315 plus pounds, which adds a little bit of rotation, scapular strength and stability, midline strength and stability. There's a lot of moving parts there, and that's a lot on like your wrist, your elbow, your shoulder. And just recently, he set the world record for a Turkish getup, which is punching an arm up and overhead with 255 pounds for Mike, and then basically practicing the art of a sit-up into an overhead lunge and then back down to the ground, showing optimal control. And if that didn't make sense, I apologize. We can send a video or we can put it in the show notes. But yeah, man, that was dope. I saw it on your Instagram. I saw it on Ty's. I saw it on Hinman's. And not only was it awesome, and also Mike is so responsive on Instagram, man. Like, I'm sure he got hundreds of messages on that, and he chose to respond. And I was just like, man, I just want to give you a shout out and some love. So, but it also is reflective on like all of your kind of Denver tribe there. Everybody probably has other things going on. They got kids, business, every excuse to not go to the gym to cheer them on for something midday. And everybody was there.
There was like
what is it about the energy of that tribe that you guys have?
Man, we talk about it all the time. We've got lightning in a bottle out here. What's funny is we're not 20-year-old dudes. We're like all, I'm 44. Eric's the same age as me. Mike's 35-ish, 34-ish. A Ty, I think, is 38. Like, we're just people that have a passion for going hard and for supporting one another. And I truly believe that alone we would all do great things, but together we are so potent because, you go to the gym any given day and it's, half the squad's there, half's not. We just named a few names. There's a whole list of other savages out here. And they're people that don't just want to better themselves for their own good, that they realize that not only can they help others, but they need it. They need to be around each other. Bo at V23 is the same way. Like, there's just so many people who, they realize that lighting fires for others is stoking yours. And the squad is just any given day you could be the baddest ass in the world at something, and then the next day you go do something else with them and you're a complete and total rookie. And I think Mike is definitely one of our most diverse friends. He 6 months ago, he ran the Leadville 100-mile run 6 days after he biked the Leadville 100-mile mountain bike, and then shifted gears. I was at 189 pounds when he finished the Leadville 100, and is like 235, 240 now, and single arm overhead squatting 350 pounds, and front squatting 405 for 3, and like he's so diverse and so strong. And what's cool is what's happened out here is we've normalized it. Like, yeah, we're going to the gym to see Mike Turkish get up 255 pounds. Like, until and then he does it, and then like you walk over and grab the bar, and you're like, this is hard to deadlift. Like, I can't believe he one arm picked this up off the ground and laid back down with it. And but on a day-to-day basis, there's someone inspiring you, giving you FOMO, and blowing your mind in our little circle of friends. And it's guys running 100 miles. Like 100 miles is now kind of the standard for a long run in the mountains to be like impressed by. Like, if you didn't run 100, like most of the crews run 100. I'm planning to run it the next couple of years, and I feel like like that's just absolutely insane. But we've normalized it, and we've normalized just being so supportive of one another versus our own goals, and it's really cool to see.
I love to hear it, man. The other thing that's really important to note is you and I have chatted briefly around there's human doings, which is everything we just described, and then there's human beings. Being is really hard for a high performer that's hyper focused on activity and movement and steps and has the Garmin challenge and 100 miles and all the things. But somehow, dude, you and your tribe find time to go to church, to get into yoga and make it to your mat, and also to do things that are like psychedelic experiences, Burning Man, some of these different experiences that, maybe aren't as highlighted as everything else as far as volume on Instagram and what people see, but like they fill your cup. It's an energetic experience. It's a bonding. It's a connection. It's energy within your joint and how you're moving. Like, you're not just this stiff, linear beefcake. Like, you have layers to your onion, and your tribe of friends does as well. And you've created this collective through being and doing, masculine and feminine, hot and cold, laughter and sadness. Like, we've shared hugs and tears and traveled the spectrum of depression, anxiety, the magic middle of flow. Like, how do you kind of carve out time to be in the midst of wanting to stay busy and not let some of those ruminating, challenging thoughts creep in throughout certain seasons of life?
Yeah. So funny that you're coming onto the show. Your creative director helper asked me, like, what do we want to talk about? And I actually said, I'm going through a tough season. And, that's for me. And this is one thing I've learned is what I'm about to say, there's nothing wrong with it. It's actually what you're supposed to do in life. But for me, I've been able to create season after season after season where I'm putting things out in front of me that are big goals. I'm putting exciting adventures out in front of me. I'm always creating an environment to where I'm stimulated, I'm around people, and I'm in flow. But I've never addressed the being part of the adventure of life and the season of slowness and stillness. And like I mentioned, I'm 44 years old, and it's something that, even though, yes, I've been running from being still for a very long time, I haven't been running away from something. I'm not like scared. I'm not sad. I like being busy, and I like having activities, and I think that's great. But you should be able to sit and be still. And if anything has come with the wisdom of age that I don't like about age, is that you have to be able to slow down. You're getting older. Your body doesn't recover as fast. Me and Eric Hinman were talking about this yesterday. He's like, I don't feel like I've lost any fitness. I've just lost the ability to recover faster. And, we're obviously biohacking every way we can. And we're obviously staying very fit and being very active. But a big piece of the puzzle that was missing for my whole circle puzzle is the cup of stillness. And I love filling the cup of adventure, friends, family, faith. But the cup of stillness looked in it, and it was pretty empty. And I've been lucky enough to go to San Diego every winter for the last 7 years now. And I chose to stay here this year, which staying in Colorado in the winter is tough. Even though winter sports are fun, it's cold, it gets dark early. I'm used to the beach. I'm used to a new community. And so for me, choosing this season has been that exact lesson. And I haven't mastered it, and it's been hard. I won't lie. It's been hard. I've gone through feelings of anxiety that I haven't really ever experienced before, feelings of sadness and grief over like the fact that I'm realizing, gosh, I'm not 25 years old, and I don't get to just pretend to be anymore. And even though I'm going to jump right back into not acting my age and filling my life full of adventures, I have got to learn this lesson of sit down and breathe and be okay with it. And it's created so much empathy for me for others. I hurt my hamstring and I haven't been able to run in a few months, but I have two legs. And my job hasn't, like the cannabis industry hasn't been as fruitful as it was over the last 10 years, but I have a great job and share a company with some amazing employees. And, you can easily tell yourself the stories of not enough and how you don't have and what you don't, what you're missing. But the truth is, like, sitting with that and finding that balance and finding an appreciation, it gets you back to the fundamentals. My friend Julian Carr, he has the world record for the largest cliff jump ever on skis. And on his birthday this year, he had his first son this year. And on his birthday, he was reflecting on having a child and life and stuff. And he made a comment or it was just a post caption, but I collected quotes. And this is one that I had to write down. He said, lots to smile about. Life is a complicated game of chutes and ladders. Can always aim to avoid the chutes. But at a higher level, if you find yourself in a chute, be grateful for the fundamentals: good health, food, shelter, family, and friends. If you find yourself hitting ladders like a boss, stay sharp but stay humble. And that's literally my season. I'm like, man, I was hitting ladders for so long and just jumping through life, and everything was going great. And I chose a season of quiet and calm and reflection. And I also chose a season of depriving myself of some of the things that grant me easy access to flow state, like living on the beach next to you and running around in the sand playing volleyball. But man, the growth and the empathy and the strength that I'm receiving from it has been so reinvigorating that I'm like very excited to see what comes out of this season. And that's where I'm at with that.
I love the fact that you're willing to share it, man. Like so many high-performing men bury it. It only comes out when the body keeps the score, and whether it's an injury, loss of a loved one, some sort of monumental grief. But the maturity to sit with it, share it, knowing that your story may be somebody else's survival guide at some point, and you can be that little match that helps light somebody else's path, and it's inevitably going to make your match into a little bit of a bonfire over the course of time, which is really cool and really special. I just really appreciate you, man, and your friendship and how you choose to live your life. I do believe you to be radical like Jesus. I think what you're doing is carving a roadmap. And since we're both quote people, like my favorite quote, man, is from Emerson: "Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." And you're carrying a freaking machete, man, and you're carving a path, and you live kind of like Vinny Chase from Entourage. You bring all your friends along with you. You're so excited to share the passionate experiences, and then you just unapologetically diffuse that into the world. And it's freaking cool, man. As we start to wrap things up, because I want to be very respectful of your time, how did you get to the now, right? Like, you have this background, you jumped in to this world after college football, and you battled some weight gain, you battled some depression, different things, and you were in a season of shoots. And then you found your way out with living this very optimistic life and just kind of one step at a time. And here you are, like, manifesting it, living it. And now you don't just do it for you do it for others.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I speak it into existence. Like, dream, think of impossible goals and impossible dreams, and then just make it happen. I'm some of the best ones I've ever met, and a quality that I believe I possess is the ability to believe that something is real before it happens. And people need results to see what, the good, and to buy in. and I buy in with or without results. I buy into like it's really the only way. It's like it's a very slippery road, and that's what I've learned in this season. It's a slippery road between I'm as happy as I can possibly be, and I am totally bummed out and in my head and spinning and spiraling. And it doesn't take much to go from one to the other, but you have to choose positivity. You just have to. You can either be miserable or choose to go this way. And your joy is your possession, and only you can give it away. Only you can take it away. And I can, like, your hell or your heaven is in between your ears, and it's whatever you choose. And so, like, in the worst of times, I just have to remember that it's the exact same attitude in the best of times that gets me that best of times result. Is the only choice I have is joy. And so through my worst days, I pick myself up. I get myself together. The hybrid raccoon, he's recently won the High Rocks in Vegas, and I think he partnered with Chandler in the race. I read a post he recently said where he went through a bunch of depression, and I loved his vulnerability. And I was like, yeah, I'm kind of going through some weird times. Like, let me read what he did. And he's like, and it's exactly what that quote I just read from Julian. He stuck with the fundamentals. He got around his family. He kept training, going to the gym every day. Seems like you're going to work out your body. I was telling my two friends today, these girls I was working out with today, I was like, isn't it funny that most people work out for physical? Like, I'm here to save my brain from itself. You know what I mean? Like, and that's a choice that if you are relentless in that pursuit of that choice, and every decision you make is based on that choice. Obviously, we have families, we have problems, we have tragedies, but even in those tragedies, you're living proof that your only choice is joy, and or you're going to be miserable, and you can create whichever one you want.
Totally. So well said, man. I think opportunity only looks like opportunity when you're looking backwards. When you're looking forwards, it looks like risk. And inevitably, you have to make the choice. And when you make the choice consistently, it gets easier. And when you see proof of concept over the course of time, it just builds that confidence to do it again and again and again. As we wrap things up, Bickel, there's one word: CrossFit. We've seen the World Fitness Project. We both know Jackson and Bella out in Kauai that are kind of doing some cool things with Will Morad. We saw the challenges with the death of Lazar Dukic, and everything happening with the PFAA and certain high-level athletes saying they're either going to participate or they're not going to participate. I'm all for getting people moving, but I also totally honor and respect the boycott of it based on misalignment with leadership associated with CrossFit. There's not really a ton of sponsors. I'm not really sure the future and the direction and the structure. It seems like every year CrossFit's changing this or changing that. And, I've definitely taken a step back just to observe and kind of disassociate a little bit. But I'm still, observing what's going on. I'm still a fan of movement and just want to see our good friends be successful and have fun and be healthy. What are your thoughts on the future of CrossFit?
Man, my thoughts are, I don't know, first of all, but one of my favorite quotes is nothing lasts forever, good or bad. And there's a lot of good that CrossFit and CrossFit and the CrossFit Games are funny because they're two different things. And I believe that CrossFit is an amazing methodology. It's how I was able to get a ton of my health back and also find community and find competitiveness. And there's so many things great about it. The CrossFit Games is amazing. It's an amazing display of what is possible when you dedicate your entire life to that. I think that the turmoil within, the loss of Lazar and the way it was handled by CrossFit is bigger than my head can wrap itself around. And I don't know that I have the ability to even put into words like the complexity of anybody's view in that role of Dave Castro or Lazar's family or a competitive games athlete. Everyone is allowed, I would just say that everyone's allowed to have their own opinion and have their own feelings on it and grieve the way they want to grieve. And I believe that, it's one of those things where something good has to come from anything. That's how my brain works. And so when there's a tragic death of a human being, good must come from it. And I don't know that I have figured out what that good is yet that's going to come from it. But I love the things that are sprouting up because of it. Athletes choosing not to, a new fitness-ish type of competition for these athletes to divert their time and space into, while CrossFit figures out how to handle it or not handle it if in the case that seems to be happening. But regardless, I love change, and it's always uncomfortable. One of my favorite quotes of all times: growth demands temporary surrender to security. And that's a mouthful, but it's like a bomb dropper. Can
you say that again? You said that to me a few months ago when I was going through my transition. I always loved that one.
Yeah. Growth demands temporary surrender to security. So if you're in a growth phase, you're not going to feel safe and you're not going to feel secure. And my challenge is always, once someone wraps their head around it, is don't ever be secure then. Like if you find yourself in a place where you're like, okay, things are perfect, I want to bottle all up and nothing to change and everything's great, then you are in for a train wreck when something small happens. And the growth and the insecurity and the discomfort that comes from a tragic loss has to be put into something good. And so I'm very optimistic for the World Fitness Project. I'm very optimistic for my friends who are brave enough to try it and put it on and do it. Will and Jackson and that crew out there couldn't pick a better group of human beings to try the experiment. And nothing's going to last forever. So the way CrossFit was for the last 10 years needs some change, and it's happening, and we don't know where the cards will lie, but I have nothing but hope and optimism for all forms of fitness, because it's a great way to express your joy of life and to be healthy and to change others' lives.
For sure. The only thing that's permanent is impermanence. And I think there's so many good takeaways from CrossFit. I think they'll dot the I's, cross the T's, button up some things, and hopefully make some improvements. And if they don't, we'll see other people do those things. At the end of the day, it's pretty freaking cool to get a collective of people in the same location participating in different forms of movement and peak expression. Yep. So I think we're definitely both aligned on that. Ladies and gentlemen, Matthew Bickel, the hug dealer, the 300-pound cheetah. Bickel, what's to come for you as you're navigating this challenging season, which I really appreciate you sharing? What's kind of at the forefront of your pursuits right now?
Literally the seasons, spring and summer. Spring is coming. The snow's melting off the mountains. The mountains are calling my name. I'm in love with this place called Colorado that I live. I am in love with the creator of these mountains, and I want to glorify him and be in these right over there, running around, sweating, having a blast, and shining love and light on people, and using my experience of this season to be a better empath, to be a better friend, and to be a better hug dealer.
I love you, man. Thank you so much for taking the time to connect and play some powwow today.
Yes, sir. Well, thank you. And yeah, like I said, I got to scoot, but I love you so much, and we'll talk very soon.
For sure, man. Where can people find you?
Instagram is Bickel, Bickel, like nickel, CO. So Bickelco. That's the best place. Nice. Message me. I respond to everyone, unless you're mean, then I just delete it. Yeah, I'd happily share more about any of this with anyone that wants to talk.
For sure. If somebody here in California or San Diego is interested in getting in contact with Bickel Consulting, which is your world-renowned marijuana consulting business, how can they find you there? Bickelco.com,
same as my Instagram, but .com is my business website. And yeah, basically, if you have we help people make their dreams come true with cannabis. So if you want to get a licensed facility designed, built, managed, and kind of handed back over, that's what we do. We work in the cultivation of beautiful cannabis plants.
I love it, man. For those of you listening, if you enjoyed my conversation with the famous Matt Bickel, please rate, review, subscribe, and share with your friends. And as always, stay on the hunt for who you've not yet become. Until next time, guys.